You want to know what your realtor probably didn't tell you? When open space isn't really open space.
Hey everyone, it's Osman with House Einstein. I hope you're doing great out there. Today is November 4th, 2022, and this video is a quick update on what's happening in the market and also about open space, our red flag series. But before I jump in with all of that, I want to give a shout out to my nephew, Azim. He mentioned to his father, my brother, that he hasn't seen much content from me. And as a subscriber, he's disappointed that my face is not on these videos, I'm not in these videos, and he would like to see that content. So Azim, I want to thank you, if you're watching this video, for encouraging me to get out there and produce more content. And you're absolutely right. It's been a few months since I've put anything with my face on it, with me in it, on House Einstein's socials. So here's our latest video, and I hope you like it. First things first. Our latest Fresh Listings newsletter is now out. We put out 3 of these last month in October, and Fresh Listings covers our thoughts on the most interesting new listings to hit the market, notable sales. These are benchmark properties that illustrate market conditions in certain price ranges and locations throughout Denver and Boulder, as well as listings that are worth a second look. Worth a second look are older listings, the seasoned listings, if we'll be nice to our fellow realtors, stale listings, if we're not being so nice, is what I would call them. But these are listings that have reduced their price a number of times and now represent potentially a value. And there may also be indications that the seller is motivated and willing to negotiate a significant discount even further from the list price. But at this point, now that they've been on the market a few months and the pricing has become a little bit more realistic, we think it's worth your time to take a second look. So that's the primary content in the Fresh Listings newsletter. It's only available on our email subscription list. You can sign up for that at houseeinstein.com. You'll see newsletter at the top of the website. Next, I want to talk about this red flag series. The Red Flag series is content based on my experiences in nearly 20 years of advising buyers and sellers on how to do due diligence properly, thoroughly, and successfully navigate that due diligence when they are on the sell side of the deal, when they are listing their homes. How do we package and present listings in such a way as to get through likely hurdles that a buyer might throw out along the way. Buyers need to be incredibly thorough. They're spending large amounts of money, financed frequently over long periods of time. Real estate's a major investment, and most agents would rather you didn't do any due diligence. And at House Einstein, we know buyers want to do thorough due diligence, and the vast majority of our sellers understand that that's what buyers are likely to do, and they choose us because we're going to help them prepare their homes properly for sale. So the very first topic for the Red Flag series is called open space. And this is based on the fact that many agents will describe their listings as next to open space, adjacent to open space, surrounded by open space, when the land they're talking about, even though it might be free of current development, is not actually protected from future development. From their perspective, it's caveat emptor. It's the buyer's due diligence to decide whether or not this truly is protected from development, this land. But that opens a giant can of worms and also increases dramatic liability for the seller should the buyer discover later that actually what they thought was open space is developable land and now has a subdivision on it, and the premium they paid to be adjacent to that land is now gone. We're talking large sums of money and massive liability for sellers and for their agents in describing listings as having open space when they actually are not open space. And I illustrate this with a neighborhood right here in Boulder called Orange Orchard. And Orange Orchard is directly adjacent to what appears to be open space. It's beautiful, it's pastoral, it has a trail running right through it, it's next to a creek. It is just a beautiful patch of land, and the community uses it as open space. But the reality is that it was purchased with the intention of development by Boulder. They're going to put houses on it one day. That's why it's called the Planning Reserve. It's in the Boulder Valley Comp Plan as such. And someday there's going to be some surprised and likely disappointed buyers that own in the Orange Orchard neighborhood. So how many listing agents have described this neighborhood as being surrounded by open space? Well, the word open space appears in nearly half of the listings in the last few years. That's astounding. And buyers should beware that what you think is open space is probably not open space until proven otherwise. This is more like being assumed guilty until proven innocent. There is association open space, I should add, in the Orange Orchard neighborhood that's on the north side of the neighborhood, but what is commonly assumed to be open space on the western side of the neighborhood is not open space. And when we put together that article on our blog, which I will link in the description below, please go check it out. We go into a lot of questions buyers should ask of their agents when they put property under contract, both before and after it's under contract. There are important questions to ask before your contingency periods expire. And as a seller, you may want to think twice about the language you're using to describe your listing. As a listing agent, you absolutely should be thinking twice about the language you're using because of that perception of the word open space, those words as meaning protected from development. And even if it's owned by Boulder County, even if it's owned by a municipality, even if it has a conservation easement on it, it doesn't actually mean it's protected from development. And that is something buyers should absolutely be aware of, and sellers should be careful with when describing and marketing their property. And that's what our first topic is on the Red Flag Open Space series. Check out that article. It goes into much more depth. It's at houseeinstein.com. And again, the link is in the description. But I do want to mention one thing. And this is something I am a little proud of. I went into the stats for our website to see how we're doing with this new content series. And we're doing pretty good. It's been online for less than 24 hours, but I was astounded to see that our total viewership has now exceeded 2 million hits on our website. And that's despite the fact that we're not putting a framed listing solution. You can't search the MLS on our site. There's lots of other sites to go do that. No, most of our content is about due diligence, negotiation expertise, what buyers and sellers need to know, local issues, events, and over time, we have just consistently stayed in true focus on our mission as a company and as realtors in the company, and that's to help our buyers and sellers make smarter real estate decisions. And it just feels so good to see that 2 million number, and also I feel so much gratitude to you, our readers, and our content watchers, our followers, our friends, our community. Thank you for giving us your attention and giving us 2 million views since the website's inception. That is deeply meaningful, and I appreciate it. I also want to give appreciation and gratitude to my team, some of whom have come and gone over the years, but all of whom have been incredible contributors to our content. And without them, we would not have this amazing library of content that now approaches 1,500 published articles. It's something that I'm proud of, and something I also have amazing amounts of gratitude, overflowing gratitude for. So thank you. Next up, I want to talk about our market meeting this week, and this is what's new at House Einstein. I'll just get into it really quick. It's the first time the team was able to gather together in person in a few months. Sophie was out of pocket. She was celebrating her anniversary in Croatia and Austria. We, of course, were covering for her as a team, and I gotta say, this team works together so well. It is such a joy to work with Ian and Sophie and Hamish, and together, I'm just, again, overflowing with gratitude and just a sense of privilege to work with such amazing human beings that care about their clients, that care about the work they do, and are doing the best they can to serve our people in our community. And it was really nice to connect with the team this week, to see each other in person. We've had Zoom calls, of course, but not in-person meetings. And after decorating for Halloween, getting together to talk about things that really matter, like community. The topic that came up that I think was particularly juicy was about what are called third places. First places are home, second place is work, third places are where community happens. And in Europe, it might be a pub, or it could be a place of spiritual faith that is bringing people together. And the same is true here in the United States. The same is true here in Boulder and in Denver. But it seems like with work from home and with the internet, third places have been kind of diminishing unless they have some sort of consumer-centric focus to them. We don't seem to be having those third places as richly as maybe we've had in the past. And I don't have solutions for it. I'm just bringing it up as something I'm keenly aware of. And there's a yearning out there for everyone and to find places to be in community with each other. And how to help people do that is definitely something that we think about at House Einstein. Not necessarily having the answers, but at least we can have the conversations around what might create greater sense of community. Maybe it's school groups, maybe it's religious groups, maybe it's the Thursday night Boulder Cruiser ride. But in-person connections that aren't centered around consumption is something that I think feels much more authentic to most people. All right, last piece that we're going to touch on before this video gets too long. And thank you if you're sticking it out through the video so far. And that's about market conditions. This is the fourth quarter. We're about midway through, and traditionally the fourth quarter, historically, the fourth quarter is when I've been able to negotiate the best deals for my buyers. Usually sellers are more motivated and they're willing to negotiate on price and inspection issues, and this year, much more so than in previous years. Ian has been able to negotiate well over 6 figures on a recent deal on a legitimate inspection issue, but one that would have caused the seller to say, take a hike, even 6 months ago. But because the market is softening, because the seller was motivated, because it was a legitimate issue, they knocked off a huge chunk on the list price. And Ian did an amazing job professionally representing his clients and negotiating aggressively. He is killer at this. I didn't do so bad myself a couple of months ago. I negotiated a $40,000 concession. Very similar story where the buyer, it mattered to them, but had this been 6 months earlier, this particular type of inspection issue would have been a non-starter. The seller would have said, take a hike, we have 3 other offers coming. We have a backup offer in place. We're not negotiating anything. And in fact, in order to even get the property under contract, we may have had to give up some of our negotiation leverage over future inspection issues just to be able to lock it down. So many buyers were forced into that situation over the last few years of having no ability to negotiate over inspection issues, take it or leave it, that it comes as a relief to be able to negotiate not just small concessions, but large ones for our buyers. And the advice to our sellers is beware. You really need to get on top of these deal killers, major inspection issues, even minor issues, deferred maintenance before listing. And that's one of the reasons why listings that are coming up in the fourth quarter are perceived as listed by motivated sellers and open to much more negotiation. And anecdotally, it's 100% true. We are absolutely seeing that in the market, and the listings that are coming online in November, and I expect may come in December, are likely to be listed by very motivated sellers. And there might be some distress involved or some other factor that's causing them to list into a down market, but the opportunities are now showing up. And we would advise our sellers, by the way, that unless you are motivated, you probably don't want to list between now and January. Use this time to fix the house. Use this time to pre-inspect it and address all of the inspection issues, the sewer line, the mechanical systems, environmental concerns, radon tests, grading issues, all of that. This is the best time to address it, and pre-disclose if you're not addressing it so that we don't have these issues come up and it ends up costing you a ton of money when the buyer holds your feet to the fire in an aggressive negotiation over inspection issues. All right, I think that's about it for this update. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Azim, I don't know if you watched the whole thing, but it was for you. Thank you again for encouraging me to get out there and put out some more content. And everyone else, I hope you're out there making smart real estate decisions. I'm Osman with House Einstein. You'll find me at houseeinstein.com. Check out our other content and I will catch you next time.